All right, do a mic check real quick.
Test 1 2, test 1 2.
All right, let's try that again.
Test 1 2, test 1 2.
All right, we should be good there. Alrighty. Let me pull this stuff up real quick. Let's do it. Get everything switched over. We should be good already. Make sure the music's turned off. Alrighty. What's going on, chillers? Iceman here, and welcome back to the Blizzard. I got my sis Joe on the line. Nice little Saturday sportscast for you. We had initially tried to do it sometime throughout the week, but she's working overtime over there trying to make that money. So
that's right, baby. Somebody's got to do it.
It is what it is. It is what it is. All right, so Joe, you've got some stuff for us. I didn't prepare, unfortunately, all week. So take the lead. What do you want to talk about? What you got to say for the folks out there?
What
do you want to focus on first?
What? Considering
okay.
The wild card series started yesterday and today, and maybe possibly tomorrow, depending on what the outcome of these last two games are. I got actually two TVs right in front of me. I got one of the big ones and then a small one. I had to turn off that one TV that I normally use. Just throws out way too much heat. So
yeah.
I was like, let me give that a break. But we can start there, considering there's the last two series right now, unless the Mets can sit here and pull this one off and St. Louis, and it'll be game 3 tomorrow. I believe the NLCS and the ACL start on Tuesday. So we can start there and then, just go into football, because I think we're going into, week 5?
Yeah.
Or we started week 5, I think, on that crappy-ass Thursday's game.
Oh,
let's just start with baseball.
That was horrible. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Okay, so the Mets.
For sure, Cleveland took that Cleveland-Tampa Bay series.
That was nuts.
They took the two games. I will tell you, today's game was just amazing. They went into I want to say 15-0-0 until the rookie, did that solo home run to seal in the deal. The pitching was great today. The bullpen was even better. We know that when it's games like that, it's always that one mistake that the pitcher can do, or maybe, your defense can do. And in this case, it was the pitcher. But, now they go into, New York with the Yankees. It's a 3 seed versus 2 seed. I'm sitting and I'm saying I have the Yankees in the World Series, but Cleveland, they are a very young group. And they maybe could probably beat the Yankees. Who knows?
Right.
Who knows? Then you had that Seattle-Toronto series, a 4 seed with a 5th seed. You know, when you have 4 or 5 seeds and the 5, 6 seeds, it can go to anyone. I was shocked in that series considering Seattle took it in the road. I mean, Toronto was at home. You know, and then today's game was ridiculous. I mean, Toronto was up 8-1. Then you got Santana who made that home run, and I can't remember. I think maybe bases were loaded, or maybe 3 out of the 4 were. He did that home run, 8-5, and then that crazy play. I think it was in the 7th or 8th. You know, blooper. You have Springer, and I can't remember what the other guy. They collided. It was just this normal pop-up blooper. Mm-hmm. They both collide, the ball drops, and, you know, before you know it, here we go, tie 9-9. So I was a little surprised. I'm very impressed with Seattle right now. They'll be playing Houston, but I don't know. Unless Seattle can keep that momentum that they've had these last 2 games, they could probably beat Houston. Who knows?
It's always a toss-up with the MLB. Like, it's one of those things where you're facing each other over the course of 7 games. Could be a 7-game series, right? And like you said, it's that one mistake that will either turn in your favor or just ruin it altogether. Yeah, looking at it here, Guardians, yup. Who else? Philly.
Yeah, right now Philly's up 2-0.
Philly's up 2-0, yeah.
I think they're in the bottom of the 7. Mm-hmm. And then you have, the Mets up 3-2 in the bottom of the 7 also. So, I mean, honestly, I'll say I want kind of San Diego because I'm a huge Manny Machado fan, and I think it's time. But the Mets are playing pretty good today. You know, who knows? My heart will break for the Mets fans, man, because we know how that is with them.
Yeah,
and,
big time.
You know, the Mets. It's
big time.
This series can go either way. I'm kind of impressed right now with Philly being still 2 up, and they're again in the road. It's a 6 seed versus what St. Louis is a 3rd seed, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's what they were, yeah.
Yeah, and considering how St. Louis, you know, let it go yesterday with letting Phillies come back in the 9th to take it over. You know, baseball is very unpredictable, and you know me. I always sit here and always say the regular season, the postseason, with the playoffs and the World Series, it's all a different ballgame.
Oh yeah, big time.
You know, you can go and play your regular season really good, or you can be that crappy team. Let's take that season that the Washington or the Nationals won the World Series. Mm-hmm. They weren't the favors.
No,
I mean, they were the last seed.
Yep.
And then before you know it, what happened? They stopped baseball world by winning that year. So, you know, I'm a firm believer when you start the postseason, it's like you're starting game 1 all over again, because you can be a really hot team going into the postseason, and before you know, you're in the playoffs and you play like crap.
Yep.
We've seen it, especially in the baseball world. Mm-hmm. So
big time.
We'll see what happens here in these last 2 games and stuff. But, you know, I think I have for sure New York in the World Series. Right now it's a toss-up. You know, I'm kind of impressed the way Philly's taking it on the road, but the game's not over with. And then I kind of want to see San Diego. You know, I'm going to tell you, I like to see San Diego and LA, right, because it's the Battle of California.
Yeah.
I love watching that series. The Dodgers took that series in the 15 games or so. I can't remember how many games they play throughout the year, and I think the Dodgers only won, or not the Dodgers, the Padres only won, I think, 3 or 4. So if I look at it this way, if things are going to churn, then I think San Diego's got the opportunity to maybe take the Dodgers, but who knows? Who knows? You know, now, so LA's still waiting, and Atlanta's still waiting to see, you know, what happens with these 2 last games.
Yeah, that's right.
For tonight.
It's depending on who, Padres or Mets or Philly or Cardinals, right? That's what it's by.
Yeah.
It says last 2.
Yeah, okay. So the winner of the Philadelphia and St. Louis series will go against Atlanta.
Okay.
And then the winner of San Diego and the Mets will go against the Dodgers.
Interesting. So let's.
Yeah. So you have, you know, in the National, you had LA at the top seed, and then you had Atlanta at number 2. Mm-hmm. And in American, you had the Yankees at number 2 and Houston at number 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Got it.
So there's history between New York and Houston because they've played each other before. In that championship series, and the last one that I remember, I think the Yankees won. Man, you already know how I feel about the Yankees, but I'm a huge Aaron Judge fan and Giancarlo fan. So I was rooting for them on that series because let's face it, until about this whole Houston cheating scandal happened, I kind of was a Houston. Somewhat of a fan, not so much now. I wouldn't even give them the time of day, on TV. Even when they played the Rangers, I wouldn't watch them on TV. But it's the playoffs, and so you know how I am when it comes to the postseason.
Yeah.
I'm watching every single game. I had all 3 TVs on today at like 12. So
for those of you guys
college
that don't know,
football on 2 and baseball on the smaller TV. So.
Well, for those of you that don't know, so I've got 3 older siblings. Joe, she's the oldest, right? And me and pretty much all of us are all about sports, anything. But she's got 3 TVs set up in her room. Yeah. And she's over there looking like the Matrix operator with all those screens. It was funny. It was funny as hell. Okay, so yeah, it's shaping up to be something solid. I mean, yeah, I think out of the whole playoff picture, I think the Mets have the most to win. I
think they have the most to prove. Just
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the most to prove because of that entire history.
Yeah. And then look at who you have too. You have oh my God, what's his name? I'm gone blank. Their pitcher, the one that freaking gave up like 4 home runs yesterday. What's his name?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I went blank.
Where's he at?
Oh my God, I literally went blank. What is his name? Max?
Scherzer? Yeah.
Yeah, so, not only that, but, everyone's kind of expected so much of the Mets here in the last few seasons. I think that out of everyone that started going into this postseason as of yesterday, I think the Mets definitely had a lot of pressure on them because a lot is expected out of them, and it, not only from the organization, but also from, your fan base. I mean,
the Mets are the neglected child of New York. We know that. I mean, it's just like the Clippers for basketball, right? So we know like that you never expect them to do much. Most of the time throughout the season, they do decent enough to kind of give you the buzz. So now here we are. You got to prove it in the postseason. So yeah, they've got the most to gain, the most to prove.
Yeah,
looking against who they're against.
And they have, their pitching. You have Lindor. As a matter of fact, I think he started, tonight with his first at bat. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he put them up 1-0 with a home run. So I think they have the most to prove. They have a lot more pressure on them. Yeah. Out of the Yankees and the Mets, I've always rooted for the Mets. Until recently when, you have Judge and, Giancarlo and, the rest of the team and stuff. I mean, I'm still not quite a big of a Yankee fan, never have been, but that was back then, in your 90s and 2000s when you had all these other good damn players that I really cared for. So, but yeah, who knows? It's a really good, interesting teams that are on there. Philly and Seattle, I think, by far were my biggest surprises going into the postseason. But you got Seattle, who's in the Rangers division and stuff, and no one there kind of stood out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Seattle kind of pulled that division and won it, and that's why they made the postseason. You know what? Philly, I expected a lot from them ever since Bryce went into them. Right. So I'm kind of rooting for them. Because I think he deserves a ring. I mean, he's a great baseball player. But who knows? St. Louis isn't easy either. Lucky that they got that win yesterday, and hopefully they'll win today and stuff. And then we'll see, if it'd be Philly or Atlanta. So
we'll see. So yeah, it's shaping up pretty nice. I'm just looking at like all the standings and the playoff picture and stuff like that. So it should be good. Should be some good stuff. All right. So what else you got on the docket?
I mean, I guess now football. We really, a part of what we've already said from baseball is we're waiting for these. I mean, if Philly can pull it off, then that series will be done. And then, I don't know, maybe another game tomorrow between San Diego and the Mets. I'll tell you this, though. Like, the way they did all this new bracket wildcard stuff, I mean, I prefer a lot better than like your one game elimination. Like we've seen them in the past,
Yeah,
but the
'cause
fact
it's 3
that
games
the
now, right?
higher seed has all 3 games at home, I think that's kind of crappy. We know that the fan base can always be that your extra push.
Yeah.
Because you have that support at home, and I think it's a little unfair to the lower seed, you know. But I kind of understand too, though. If you're basing it on the best of 3, right, which means you got to win 2 games, and if you start, you know, let's say for example, the Philly and St. Louis, you start at St. Louis, it'll be too much for the team to travel for 1 game. I get that,
Right.
but who knows? Every season it's different. They change it, so. I kind of like the best of 3. I just don't like how it's all at, you know, the higher seed home. I mean,
yeah, I don't think, but that's where you got to really prove yourself. Like you're giving yourself the advantage. Like you've gone throughout the entirety of the year to get a better record than the opponent that you're facing. So yeah, that definitely gives you the advantage. But that of course feeds into the whole underdog story, right? You got to go to somebody else's house and snatch victory, right? So I like the 3-game format. One and dones don't make sense. Not for baseball, considering that you have 4-game, 5-game series throughout the regular season. Yeah, no, having 3 games, right? It's like playing heads or tails. You know, you can't just bet it all on one toss like football.
Yep.
So no, I like the 3-game format. The home thing, I mean, hell, if you really deserve to be here, you better go beat that higher seed because, hell, when you're placing in the World Series. If you're on the opposite side and they got the better record than you throughout the whole season, I mean, you still got to snatch it from them.
Yeah,
7-game series, you know.
That's why I kind of throw kudos to, you know, Seattle and Philly. You know, Seattle took both road games, you know, and so it necessarily mean just because Toronto started at home, they were shooing. You know what I mean? So Seattle kind of did their thing.
Yep.
And I was very impressed, you know, with how that team, you know, played their 2nd game today. You know, and then you have Philadelphia, who took the first one, you know, on the road. Here's game number 2. They're up 2-0 on the road. So it's a lot, I think. But again, you know, who knows how next season will be. You know, they tend to change these, you know, postseason brackets and, you know, rules. And so who knows?
I mean, it's all, at the end of the day, the MLB is going to make their money. You know, that's how it is. That's the whole reason why they add extra games all the time. Like,
the wild card, if we win, maybe the best of 5. But I understand where it puts a lot of strain and pressure on these players because you've already been playing 100-some games prior to the postseason. So how much of it can you push? You know, because depending on the city you're in, right? Because right now I'll tell you, New York and Mets, and then when I was watching Cleveland, you have fans that already had beanies and sweaters and jackets, and I'm like, damn, is it that cold already? You know, of course, you know, we're in Texas,
they're right next to it.
Nights are great because they're in the 60s, but I kind of get it. Depending on where that World Series will take place, depending on who that team is, it could probably be cold. Hell, it could probably snow. You know what I mean? So I kind of get it why they do the best of 3. Would I like to see a best of 5 in the wild card? Yeah, it'll give the opposing lower seed team a chance to go home and rally their fans up. You know.
But don't be surprised if that's the case. How I mean, it all breaks down to money, and if that were to happen, I think they might shorten the regular season out just a little bit, just to keep the games balanced. But you never know. I mean, they're gonna change it, whatever the hell, to make more money. We know that.
No, but we know in every sport, every year you start the season and there's new rules, you know, and there's, you know, new stuff. So who knows? It may change. I kind of like it. I do like, you know, the fact that it's not a 1-game elimination. I totally dig it.
Yeah, same. All right, so what do you got for the NFL?
Well, where do we start? I mean,
so all right, so let's big thing, right? So I just read this just a little while ago. So we know Tua got really messed up.
Yeah, he's out. Yeah, you know, Teddy Bridgewater starting on Sunday for Miami.
He's messed up. So the story goes that the correct protocols were applied.
No.
But here's the thing, right now. That's why like everyone's calling bullshit because. Yeah.
Well, but it's the NFL. How much does the NFL like to sit here and brush off stuff and ignore things and make it seem like they did everything per the rule book?
Exactly.
Come on now.
Exactly. So that's and that's where they're moving the goalposts, right? Because whatever quote unquote protocols were followed, and they let Tua play. but then they fire that staff member who did it,
Well,
and then hang on, and then they change the protocols, like within the week. That's the story that's going right now. So whatever staff member followed the current protocols, they investigated it. Oh yeah, everything was followed to the T, but we got to fire you because we're changing the protocols now. So no, they didn't. Whatever protocols they had didn't work out. It wasn't the way it's supposed to be done.
I would like some confirmation, because from what I understand, the physician that actually saw him and did this whole protocol was a non-affiliated physician for the Dolphins. So maybe I need to look more into it, but that's the last that I heard of it. Nonetheless, the physician screwed up. Someone had to take the fall for it. 2 hits within a 5-day period, that's just too much.
Right.
It was not a really good situation. Honestly, he shouldn't have started on that Thursday game, just because when we watch these NFL games and there's someone who gets hit in the head, right? Mm-hmm. They take what's called that, concussion protocol. They get pulled from the game, right? They get taken to the back, and they do tests. But then what do we as fans get? Oh, so-and-so is out for the rest of the game for concussion protocols. That has happened in the years previous. Why did it not with Tua?
Right.
So
that's where like the statement here, I'm reading something off of Twitter. NFL and NFLPA announced they agreed concussion protocols were probably applied with Tua on September 25th, but those protocols now modified were insufficient. And it lists like a whole modification of what they did. So clearly, it's one of those things where, unfortunately, a player had to get hurt bad enough for them to say, okay, we're not doing the best that we can. But at that point, it's like, okay, you are a multi-billion-dollar organization. You have staff members left and right. You have medical physicians left and right to keep these players upright and going because y'all want them to make the money for y'all. How would you not know how to do this research and how to figure out, okay, we got to keep moving the needle so that these players can keep doing what they love to do? It's just, it's the pot calling the kettle black on the dumbest way.
Yeah, well, and it falls down to, I kind of understand it as an athlete, right? Because at that point, it could be one of those things that Tua was like, no, I'm good, no, I'm good, no, I'm good. Because as an athlete, you want to still go out there and you still want to prove yourself. I'm going to tell you this. Yeah. I'm a fan. I have always been a fan since he came into the NFL. What I've seen thus far this year in them, when they started the season, I'm like, man, this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for the Dolphins to be this good prior to that game they lost. And so, but as a staff member, as a doctor, as a coach, as a team owner, that's where you got to put your foot down and be like, no, I understand that as a quarterback, you want to go out there and you want to keep doing what you've been doing for us, but we have to protect you. What does that come in play? Because that's where right now the Players Association is like, okay, look, we got to take the decision away from both not only the player, but also the physician that works for the doctor, the coaches, and the actual owner.
Yep. Yeah.
So now they're looking into possibly bringing in non-affiliated doctors, right, for these games that have nothing to do with home and road team to kind of do that. Now, what I will tell you, what I didn't know was, in every single game in every single stadium, they have what's called these spotters that actually, kind of have screens that go back and look at certain hits, and then they're like, hey, you guys got to look at this, and then they decide whether they pull. And I had no idea they had that, which kind of makes sense because, not everything can be seen by the refs in the field or the coaches or someone out in the boxes and stuff. You have, they have spotters throughout the whole entire stadium that have their own screens that actually see some of these hits that are questionable, and then they, relay the message down to, the field.
Right.
So, yeah, they screwed up, I think. It's unfortunate now he's not playing on Sunday. I think they're still in a pretty good, position. They're first in, that AFC East. but we'll see. I mean, Teddy's been around the league for a while. We know what he can do.
I mean, we know what he can't do.
But let's see how much he can maintain that team until hopefully Tua can come back.
We'll see. I mean, so now Teddy's got some weapons, and you would think that in film sessions together they can kind of figure it out and mesh, right? Because unfortunately, that's what your backup quarterback is supposed to do, right? Maintain the ship, keep it going. Hopefully things come back.
Well, my biggest thing too is I don't know how long Tua's going to be, and I think he's got like a small fracture in his middle finger, which is on his throwing hand.
Yeah.
So look at Dak. You know what I mean? Like he's been wanting to come back for the last few weeks, and they finally decided this week, no, you're still not ready. So we'll see. I mean, I think Teddy can probably hold it together until Tua comes back. But the NFL, it's the same thing as any other sport. It's a game per week. Sometimes you have to play 2 games because like the Dolphins, they played that Sunday and then they played that Thursday. So every week is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And every week everyone's playing a little different.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the one thing I think that I'm impressed the most. And me, growing up in the 80s and the 90s and stuff, and that football era, we have the Bears, that won that Super Bowl. I'm a huge defensive, play. I love my whole thing is defense.
Same. What do I always say? Defense wins championships.
Well, I've always said that. Yeah. And recently, until these last few seasons, it's the opposite. And you and I've gone into. You're like, no offense wins, and I'm like, no, that defense. And I will tell you that outside of maybe, I want to say 3, maybe 4 games, and where the scores have been over 30 points, this season by far has probably been maybe one of the boring seasons in NFL, just because I think everyone's defense is on point.
Yeah.
We have low-scoring games. I mean, you have games that are going into the half 3-3, 6-9. I'm like, what in the hell? As a fan, it's frustrating, right? But because I'm a defense girl, love it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and so I think everyone's, defense this year is like, I mean, right on point. They're not letting anyone score a lot. And then, of course, you have some of these quarterbacks and where you're used to them, throwing, long passes or doing plays, and they're not, Tom's not playing the way that I normally see him playing. Aaron's not playing the same, Russell. And Russell kind of has maybe an excuse because he's in a new organization and a new team, and he's got to get used to that playbook and that offense and stuff. But we expect for someone of his caliber to play better than he did on Thursday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are my surprises and my shocks right now is, seeing the Matt Ryans and, the Russell Wilsons, not because they're with new teams playing the way that they are, and, and then you have Tom and then you have, Aaron, not playing, as much as they does age have something to do with it? Probably.
It probably does. I mean, that's where, unfortunately, Aaron in Green Bay doesn't have weapons. Tom, he's got some there, but I think now it could be age with him. It could be, home troubles. We know what's going on there. We're not gonna talk about it. Shit, yeah. That's for them.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Gets into the psyche. Russell Wilson, you're exactly right. Whole new organization. They're trying to figure it all out. And then Matt Ryan, I think now going into this year, now that he's won the chip. Is he still hungry for it? Right? Does he want another one? Or
they won their last 2 games, so
right. So that's where they got it. Now we got to figure it out. Right now, it's like, okay, are we bouncing back?
I think the momentum is there. I probably wouldn't have been proud of that win that they got on Thursday, but yeah, the last 2 games, I mean, hell, they beat Kansas City.
Yeah.
So to get their first win. So who knows?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's football. Every Sunday, every Monday and every Thursday it's different. So, we'll see. Hopefully they'll start again. I think his weapons are coming in too, though, because I think Indiana's got quite a bit of injuries too, and so he can't rely too much on what he's got until they get the good players back from their injuries.
Yeah. So going into tomorrow, early in the morning. Obviously, New York and Green Bay, they're across the pond. Then we got Chicago and Minnesota. Hopefully, we can pull out and get out 3-2.
No. I'll tell you, we're from Chicago, or at least I am, born and raised, diehard Bears fan, but I'm going to tell you, I'm impressed the way Kirk Cousins has been playing. Minnesota is going to take it. I'm going to tell you, I think right now, that division clearly is going to be between Minnesota and Green Bay. Who's going to take it? But I think we're going to lose tomorrow. I think the Bears are going to lose tomorrow.
So
yeah.
Let's pull up Kirk real quick.
Yeah, Justin's not reading that defense very well. He's had how many interceptions in the last 2 games? I get it. He's still young and stuff, but he still has a lot of work to do. Right. Kirk's got more experience, and they're playing in Minnesota.
I think so. I'm trying to look up. Why is it not pulling?
I'm trying to go and look at the games too.
No, of course not. All right. Let me do this.
Yeah, they're in Minnesota.
They're in Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a look real quick. Kirk Cousins. Okay, let's see. What are we looking at so far?
Oh, so right quick, New York 6-2. So they've put on a few extra runs. They're in the bottom of the 7th.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
All right, so looking at, we're at the 22-23 season, right? Okay, so he's looking. All right, his completion percentage is 63%. He's got 1,000 yards, 6 TDs, 4 interceptions, passer rating 84. Okay. Let's see.
Not the greatest, but I don't think so far this season, in the first few weeks, I don't think anyone's rating is all that great.
Not too
just
many,
because of the points and how, defenses are holding up these offenses. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Aaron Rodgers' numbers are way down, and I think it's probably the lowest in his career he's had. I think the same thing with Tom. We're used to Patrick being up there, and his numbers aren't that great either still.
Well, keep in mind, with Patrick, with what he's done in the past 3 years, now we're looking at it's like we got to taper off our expectations, because let's see, he 22. So yeah, he's at 66.4 completion, 1,100 yards, 11 TDs, 2 interceptions. His passer rating is 108. And that's a little low
because we're used to seeing way better numbers than that.
Because going into last year, he was at 66% completion, 4,800 yards, 37 touchdowns, 98 on the rating. That's how he ended the year. 108 the year before, 105 on that one. He stayed around the 65, 66 percentage rating, but his yards have always been close to 5,000. So if I'm looking at the numbers right, he could be on pace to hit another 4,500, maybe another 35 touchdowns. If he keeps his interceptions down, he'll be well below the 13 that he did last year. But when we're talking about the Patrick Mahomes and then the Kirk Cousins and the Tom Brady's, right, they all have their own niche. For me, Kirk Cousins has never been an outstanding player. He's kind of, if I'm being honest, he's almost like Dak, where he's good, right? He can definitely steer the ship for you. He can definitely, you could say he's a franchise quarterback temporarily.
Yeah.
But he hasn't won.
But he's not that. He's never been, and he's not that standout quarterback like. You have your Mahomes and your Allens and
right, exactly.
Your Justin Herberts. Because
exactly.
Now we got to sit here and talk into. We got to stop looking into this era of the Tom Brady's, the era of the Aaron Rodgers, the Matt Ryans and the Russell Wilsons, because now there's a whole new generation.
Exactly.
There's there's new kids, there's younger kids, right. And so now you look at the Patrick Mahomes, you look at the Josh Allens, you look at the Justin Herberts, who else? Mac Jones and Dan, so
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's never been that really big, impactful quarterback that has always been elite and stuff, but he's managed. And I'll tell you, I'm quite impressed so far, this season. So, they probably have the potential to win, our division, but you got to go through Green Bay too. So,
true.
We'll see. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't see us winning tomorrow.
We'll see. You never know, right?
That's true. I'll tell you, it's like a few of my coworkers, my homies at work and stuff. They love to throw this any given Sunday quote. I'm like, really?
But unfortunately, that's just how it is. That's what football
Uh-huh.
is. You play one game and you win or lose. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, and then after that, you've got, or no, during the same time, you got a few games starting. L.A. Chargers versus Cleveland. Those guys are 2-2 apiece. Miami and the Jets.
Well, I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of 2-2s.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Detroit,
Yeah,
New England are both 1-1.
So if you see that AFC North and South, you know, and the NFC, what is it? South and West, I think.
Houston is 0-3-1. Oh my God.
You got 2-2s, you know. And I'm going to say those divisions, those four there are probably kind of iffy because I think right now, depending on how you play the remainder of the season, you know, any of those teams that are 2-2 can probably take that division.
Yeah.
You know, the only undefeated team right now you have is Philadelphia.
Speaking of, what is going on in Philly?
Well,
4-0?
you know, Jalen's
games
playing the way that everyone expected him to be, and I including myself. You know, is he throwing out these crazy impactful numbers and stuff? No, but he's getting it done. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have them. If not undefeated, they may lose that game. What week? They're playing Green Bay, I think. What week is that? 11? Week 11?
I'll take a look at it here in a second.
So they'll either go, you know, the rest of the season winning their games, or they may lose that one with Green Bay. Who knows? But right now, yeah, I think everyone has their eyes in Jalen. I mean, what are his stats? I don't.
He's at 66.
I didn't look him up, but
yeah, 67%
last
completion.
Sunday I would tell you that they were down though to Jacksonville, but they came around and ended up winning that game and stuff. But prior to that game, they've always been up. They've always been ahead, and I was surprised that they were a little behind to Jacksonville of all teams, but they pulled the win.
Well, he only threw 204 yards and 1 interception that game, so he wasn't on it on that one. But right now, his stats for the season: 66% completion, 1,100 yards, 4 TDs, 2 interceptions, passer rating at 99. So he's at a much better pace than he was for last year.
Yep.
So yeah,
which to me, what he's doing so far this season, and the season just started, right? Because you can either get better or you can get worse, right? But what he's done so far in these last, you know, first 4 weeks is what I've been expecting from him for the last, you know, 1 or 2, you know. And so is it Philly time? Will they make it to the Super Bowl? Probably not. I don't think they will.
They could.
But
Hang on.
Their division.
If they're winning the division, then they're definitely going to make the playoffs.
Yes.
I mean, they could probably go maybe. I could see them going into. What is it? The AFC. NFC.
Yeah, but I don't think I have them yet in the Super Bowl. You know, I'm throwing it out there. I have Buffalo winning this season or this year's Super Bowl. Yeah, you know, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying it's a shoo-in because again, it's only the start of the season. But who knows? I just don't see. I mean, I don't see. They'll make the playoffs. How deep can they get? I don't know because then, you know, you still have Baltimore. You know, you have Kansas City. You know, I'll throw in, you know, Buffalo in there. You know, I think Green Bay maybe will probably play in the playoffs, maybe mini. So, I think they'll have to go through some teams and stuff. But
so, yeah, let's take a look.
I don't see a Super Bowl for Philadelphia this season.
Let's take a look because they've played the Lions, the Vikings, the Commanders, and the Jaguars. So none of those guys.
Those are shoo-ins.
Right. None of those
guys.
Those
are shoo-ins.
They should be, right? They should be.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's their schedule?
Then what is it? Week 11? I think they play Green Bay. That's probably the only game that I'm kind of indecisive. That will either be your first loss or you'll win and you'll continue the rest of the season, you know, undefeated.
Okay, so they play the Cardinals tomorrow. Then they play the Cowboys the week after. Then the Steelers. Then the Texans. Then the Commanders again. Then the Colts. Yeah, Packers in November. That's going to be a tough one. The Titans. Then the Giants. Then us. in December. Then the Cowboys again, Christmas Eve. So, I mean, realistically, the threats for them would be, I think, Tennessee, Green Bay. Yeah, they shit, man.
I say Green Bay. I don't even think Tennessee's going to be, because Tennessee really hasn't been playing that caliber,
but they
game
got
that we've seen the last 2 seasons. But again,
it's
who knows?
right. That's
It's
what I'm saying.
just
Like everyone's still like that's where like everyone's 2-2, 2-1, 3-1, and you know because what they added like another game, so now it's like 17, 18 games this season.
No, it's 17.
17.
Yeah.
Okay, so then so you got an extra 2 to kind of oil your machine up and keep it pushing. You know what I mean? So I can honestly see Tennessee turning it around because they got Derrick Henry.
So we're saying Philly can probably maybe lose 1 or 2 games.
Possible. I mean, holy shit! They're looking at their schedule like shit.
Well, they have one of the easiest schedules.
They do big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Holy shit. Yeah. Damn. We'll see. We'll see. That's funny to look at. Okay. Who else? What else? We Atlanta, Tampa Bay, right? Detroit, New England, Seattle with New Orleans. Buffalo against Pitt, which they should win, no fucking problem. Houston 0-3-1 against Jacksonville, Tennessee 2-2 against the Commanders, San Francisco and Carolina, Dallas. So I'm curious to see. Dak's not playing this weekend.
No.
So we'll see.
Which kind of makes sense because
right. He's still fucked that.
All week I've been saying to the Cowboy fans at work, you keep Cooper. Keep Cooper. I mean, I know he's not playing that caliber quarterback that we're used to seeing with other quarterbacks in other leagues, but he's getting it done. Their defense, again, here we go, defense. Their defense is what's keeping them in these games.
Exactly.
Right? And the Cowboys have had great defense here in the last, 2-3 seasons? So if the defense can continue to still play the way they're playing and help him, I'm going to tell you, they can probably upset the Rams. The Rams didn't play very well last week, But again, these games aren't a shoo-in, right? When we think a particular team is going to win, before you know it, they've lost.
Exactly.
So I'm going to say the Cowboys can probably upset the Rams, right? I have a feeling with Cooper, it kind of raises that bar a little bit. Because I'm going to be honest, as much as I like Dak, I just don't think he's that quarterback. And I've been saying this for how long? And I say it to the Cowboy fans at work. You're not going to win a championship. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. I'm sorry. I love the guy. Always been a fan. I just don't see it in him. I mean, that first Sunday when he got hurt, I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah.
I don't think, I can't remember when's the last time, if I've ever seen him play that horribly since he's been the starting quarterback for the Cowboys. I can't remember. I think that probably was the worst of his career as far as the game's concerned.
So, unfortunately for the Cowboy Nation, they with Dak and whatever defenses they've had, they get to the first round and then that's it. So, we'll see. They played the Bucks. They played the Bengals, which both of those two teams should have been a problem for them. But Coop came in late, right? They figured that out. They lost that game, didn't they? Yeah, they lost that one. And then
the only game they lost was the one for Tampa. I think that was their opener.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then they've won. Yeah, they've won the last
3. So
yeah.
Here's where Cincinnati probably should have beaten them, but Joe Burrow and those guys, they're trying to still figure something out.
They still got to figure it out. I'm just a little shocked and surprised. You were in the Super Bowl last season. I don't understand. And again, it's every Sunday's not guaranteed. And, when you expect a team like them who were in the Super Bowl and kind of did pretty good, my biggest expectation as a football fan is that I expect you to start your season the way that you ended it. We know the NFL is not like that. Exactly. It's never like that. There's no guarantee, So
looking at Cooper's numbers against the Bengals, 235 yards, 1 TD, completion percentage of 61. Against the Giants, who are 3-1, right? 67%, 215, 1 touchdown. And then against the Commanders, 55% completions, 223 yards, 2 TDs. Notice how I didn't say no interceptions. Notice how I said no interceptions throughout those 3 games.
Well, bro.
No. Hang on. That's the thing. No. That's the thing. That's the thing. No,
you already know how I feel about these jinxes.
No, but that's the thing. Like he's showing those flashes of like, hey, I got a good arm. I can get it to the spots right, i.e. CD Lamb, or no, Michael Gallup with that corner pass. That's what you want. And that's where you want.
We're getting into that. So look at the stats because you have them in front, and I don't know if it has this information. So I think the reason why he's gone thus far with no interceptions and stuff is I don't think he's thrown no farther than 30 yards. Has he?
Good question. Let's find out.
Because you, as a quarterback, you can play it safe and try not to do these plays like the Rodgers do and the Brady's and the Mahomes, and where you want to throw this ball down 30, 40, 50 yards and stuff, the chances of it getting intercepted are pretty high.
Right.
So do you play it safe and just throw it down a good 10, 15, 20 yards to get you those first and downs until you get down to the red zone? You know, I don't know what's his longest passing yard. I don't think it's been more than 30.
Take a look.
Unless there was that one. I know there was that one catch with CD Lamb, which is pretty sweet, but I can't remember how many yards those were.
Come on, why is this being stupid?
This Philadelphia St. Louis game is taking long because so the New York and the San Diego game, they were 2 innings behind the St. Louis Philadelphia. So now Philly and St. Louis are at the bottom of the 8th, and New York and San Diego are at the top of the 8th.
Let me go to week 4.
But going back into you saying Cooper, no interceptions and stuff, and you know me, when we watch these games and these analysts throw these numbers, and then they say, no interceptions, and then I'm like, jinx it. You know who's great at that? Joe Buck.
Yeah,
I love the man. I'm a huge Joe Buck. I'm a huge Joe Dollar fan, but I hate when they say and they start throwing these stats on, and before you know, you jinx the player, and then they screwed up, and guess what they did? Oh, you said no interceptions? Oh, thanks, buddy. You just gave him his first interception because you said something. That's why I told you, don't mention anything. Don't say anything.
All right, hang on. Here we go. So, longest play. Where is it at?
And if he has one, then it's probably 2 CD Lamb.
Most likely.
Of more than 30 yards, but I don't think that I know of. I don't think I've seen in the games that I've watched, and where it's one of those, where you throw a crazy throw and it's like 30, 40, 50 yards, and then they catch it. I don't think I've seen that in him yet.
So he did. Okay, so he did it there against. I'm looking at the Commander stats now. So 31-yard pass to Elliott. 2-yard pass, and then if they got a field goal, that was at the end of the game. Let's see. Field goal, touchdown. Okay, let's look at this one here. 3-yard one, 2 passing complete, 15-yard pass, 11-yard. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit more runs, more so, and then definitely, let's look at this one. Yeah, so it looks like the longest pass that he did was that 31-yard pass to Elliott.
Yeah.
And then if we go...
So that's where his stats are thus far not having passes. Any interceptions, right. And a lot of that as a quarterback I think could be because you're reading that defense very well, or in this case with him, I think he's taking it a little bit of that safer route and not going anything past 30 because then the farther you throw out there, the chances of it being intercepted are pretty high.
Right.
Right, because you're on that one-on-one man coverage, or you have that extra defenseman out there that's coming out of nowhere of your TV screen, and all of a sudden freaking catch that interception. Where the hell did you come from?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because we've seen those.
Yeah.
So I think he's playing it safe.
But is that him? Is that him playing
it? Him? I I, as a Cooper fan, probably would like to, but I think if he stays with the same game that he's been doing, then I think the Cowboys can definitely get a little farther and probably, prove, well, for him himself, right? Because after Sunday, who knows whether if he's still going to have, that starting, position job, because we haven't heard anything yet about that. Just the fact that, he won't be playing against the Rams on Sunday, but that can change next week,
Well,
if it was up to Dak, he would have been already playing the last 2 games.
Right. Well, so going back to what you're saying, is it really him playing it safe, or is it the coaching staff saying, hey, let's not get into anything crazy because, we're not trying to ruin anything?
I think a lot of that, too, though, is how much of confidence does the coaching staff have in someone like him, and where they're like, well, no, don't throw it that deep, I don't know, and in all the games that I've seen, I'm not quite sure, though, if he has tried to throw it deep, and it's been an incomplete pass. I'd have to go back and check all the, the replays, so the games that he's been playing, but I don't think that they've been, that far and then no one catches it. I just don't think he's thrown. Is it confidence in himself, or is it the coaching staff that's saying, no, let's play small ball, you know what I mean, and let's not get, like you said, crazy. Who knows?
Right. I'm trying to see what the Cowboys schedule is. Hang
on. They have, I think they have the Rams. Then they have, I think Green Bay's in there. They play us at the end of the month.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, so they got the Rams, Eagles on the week after, so that should be crazy. Then Detroit, then us, then the Packers, then the Vikings, the Giants, the Colts, the Texans, the Jaguars, the Eagles again, the Titans. I mean, realistically, looking at it here,
the Houston game they should win. The rest of those games,
they could.
It's a toss-up.
No. I mean, Detroit's not doing anything right now, so they could.
Well,
easily win that.
I forgot. So Detroit and Houston, okay.
Between the Rams, the Eagles,
Commanders, they can probably win those two.
They should be able to, right? So honestly, looking at it here,
no. Green Bay probably no. Who else do they have?
The Vikings, the Giants, the Colts. So tomorrow they play the Rams. I think that's going to be a tough one. The Eagles the week after, that's going to be a tough one. The Lions, they should win that. The Bears, we'll see. We'll fucking see. I mean,
I don't know.
Justin is in the second year. We'll see what happens. Who the hell knows? At this point, I'm just happy to see him figuring out the system. Packers, that's going to be a tough one. Could be because it's Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings in November 20th, then the Giants. Depending on how the rest of these games go, the Giants could be a tough one for them. The Colts, they should win that one. The Texans, they should win that one. The Jaguars, they should win that one. Then the Eagles again on Christmas Eve. And then on the 29th, the Titans, and then the Commanders to finalize the year. So, I mean, looking at their schedule, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 tough games. The other ones, you never know. We'll see what the hell happens.
Yeah. Well, but regardless, I don't have the Cowboys winning the division.
Yeah, if Philly keeps going the way they're going, that'll be. Let's see who else we got. What else we got? I mean that pretty much rounds it out. And then Monday, who's playing on Monday?
I think Kansas City and Raiders.
Okay, Kansas City should win that, no problem.
Yeah. Well, the Raiders are a little disappointment. They're 1-4?
What, I mean, did we expect anything from them at all?
Well, I mean, I've always been a Derek Carr fan, and I like the Raiders. I mean, I go back to before they moved to Vegas, But I've always had this. For some reason, I've always had this love for these California teams. I don't know why.
Why?
So
you ain't even from there.
Huh?
You ain't even from there.
I know. I don't know. I don't know why. I could tell you, love the Dodgers, love, the Padres. I take the Padres more than I do the Dodgers, which is kind of crazy because I think any Californian would be like, what? San Francisco, not so much. But yeah, I have this thing for the California teams, and I don't know why. And since the Raiders moved, and now then they're Vegas, I'm like, well, I still like you guys. So
she's trying to be a West Coast girl.
What I've seen in Derek in the last few seasons, the fact that are they 1-3?
Yeah, they're 1-3.
Yeah, so I'm a little surprised there. I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised, in the Raiders numbers. Although I'll tell you, I think every quarterback's rating this year is like super low.
Probably, but I mean, it's
Super
not
low.
like Derek Carr has ever really been near the top echelon or even near the midway. So he's just a guy.
But I've seen him play a little bit better than what I've seen him so far this season. So that's I'm a little shocked on how they're 1-3. But I don't expect them to do anything either.
Let's see. Wow, the AFC North: Browns, Ravens, and the Bengals are all 2-2.
Yeah,
The Steelers
2-2.
are 1-3.
Yeah, I think
AFC
how many
East,
teams are in total? 2-2. I think
one. Okay, I got you. So you got
16.
You got,
no, 12. I
you
can't
got the
remember.
Jets, the Chargers, the Browns, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Jaguars, the Titans, the Colts. That's on the AFC. So was that like 7? Right? Did I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Technically 8 because the Colts have a tie this year. And then going into the NFC, let's see. 49ers, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Seahawks. That whole NFC West is 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Us,
That's
Bears,
anybody's.
2-2. Bucks are 2-2. Falcons are 2-2. So, almost 13, 14, 15 teams. Just about half the league. That's funny.
Yep. St. Louis is trying to do something here at the bottom of the 8th. Albert just went and hit a single. Surprised he's still playing. I think this is his last season. I think he's retiring.
Is he?
But yeah, so they have 2 men on base with 1 out, the bottom of the 8th. So they're threatening right now. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll see it right now. Yeah.
I mean, for his career, for as long as I've seen Albert play, it would kind of suck to end here, but I want it to end here.
I mean, if he could get a chip, that'd be nice. But I mean, he's in the 700 home run club. I mean, his legacy is cemented.
Yeah, no, well, he's definitely proven himself as a baseball player. I'm just a little shocked that he went from St. Louis to where did he go? Anaheim.
Yeah.
And they paid him for as much as they paid him, and he really didn't do too much there. I mean, he still did his numbers, but he just didn't get them to where they needed to be as a ball club to get into the postseason and possibly win a championship. And then, of course, they gave him this 1-year deal here with the Cardinals, which kind of makes sense because that's where most of your career was.
Exactly.
So I kind of get it as a player. If you have the opportunity to go back where you got it started and finish your career, then why not? Do it because you're probably going to retire as a Cardinal.
Yeah.
And yeah, he made his numbers and definitely future Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah.
But I'm just surprised he's played here these last 2 seasons at his age.
So baseball is not as taxing as other sports. So I think for him to go that long, that's about right. I mean, you keep your body right, keep your strength up. Don't let things stupid.
But his body's not right. This is the biggest that I've seen him in his whole career, and so that's why I was shocked. I mean, I think he was a little heavy set when he was with Anaheim. He kind of got a little fit, and then now you can just tell the age has got it's caught up to him. I mean, we all know it. I'm almost 50, and my age is caught up. In weight. So
yeah.
I'm a little surprised. I mean, he can still get it done because he just got a hit, and so they pulled him because he's a designated hitter, and so someone now is running for him because we know he can run.
Right.
Not at his age, but there's always that, and this is where you and I talk about age. Age has a huge factor in one's career as an athlete. Is how much can you push your body?
Right.
At a particular age, I think 40s, you're cut off. I mean, he's what, 40, 42, 43, I can't remember, but he's there. So
mid-40s, yeah.
I think maybe this is his last season, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the reason why he went back to St. Louis. But, I always say, man, you got to watch your age and stuff, because if you're not taking care of your body the way that you should, and kind of still play a game, and where you feel that you're still young, then, the potential of you getting injured, I think, raises.
I think baseball is probably one of the few sports where the weight isn't so much as of a determining factor. That and the NFL, like your linemen, yeah, they're big and strong, but they're a little chunky more often than not.
Yeah, well, but I think in football, because if we remember the way, what's his name, Fournette, or what, the guy from Tampa, am I saying his last name right? I think it is Fournette. His biggest issue when he started training camp was they said he was a little overweight.
Yeah.
And so, but in his position, it kind of makes sense because you're a running back.
Mm-hmm.
That lineman, kind of does not make a difference because we do see some of these guys that are pretty big.
Yeah.
And they have their bellies and stuff, but they're freaking strong. They're defending their quarterback.
Exactly.
And baseball, not so much. Because we've seen our guys, in the years. My whole life, watching baseball, there's pretty big guys.
Yeah.
In pitching and in, as a hitter. So, yeah, it's not that big of a deal when it comes to baseball, or for that matter, I think basketball either, but it is for
basketball big
the
time.
NFL, depending on what your position is.
No, basketball big time because you're running up and down that court, and if you're jumping up and down, like the less weight that's on your knees.
Yeah, but I don't think we have seen...
You haven't. No, but that's the thing. You haven't.
In the years that I've seen basketball, I don't think there's one particular guy that I'm like, damn, bro, you.
No, the only person that I've seen that realistically be a problem for was Kendrick Perkins in his prime career with Boston. Shaq, had he kept his body right, he would have continued to dominate more so.
You think he would have played a little bit longer if he wouldn't have let himself go?
Absolutely, because look at
here's where I hear these players, I think for the most part, I don't know if they necessarily let themselves go, or they listen to their body, and they're like, okay, I think I'm done, and then they let themselves go. Who did I listen to? Tiki Barber.
Mm-hmm.
I watched him when he came out in Celebrity Wheel of Fortune, and so they, and we know the type of caliber player that he was.
Yeah.
And Pat Sajak went and asked him and said, because he stopped playing, and I think that following year, that's when the Bucks won the Super Bowl. So he made the comment, and he said, "No, I had to listen to my body. My body was telling me I was done."
Yeah.
And he was not an oversized, overweight guy.
No, he was a defensive back.
So that's where I'm like, is it your body telling you, and then you let yourself go, or do you, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I think in basketball.
See, what you're talking about though is your body telling you that you can't do it anymore, right? What I'm talking about is when you let yourself go, and the type of sport that you play, like you gotta have more of the discipline in keeping your body right. Like for Shaq, when he started out with Orlando, lean guy, and as the years kept going, he got bulkier, but then he started letting himself go and he got chunkier, and that's what started messing him up. Had he stayed lean and fit, he would have kept on going. The prime example I use is Tim Duncan. He played for quite a few years in the position that he played. Different body makeup than Shaq, absolutely, but he had to keep himself toned. When you hear him talk about his career, he talks about the different diets that he went through, the different exercises. He picked up yoga, he picked up Pilates, everything that he could to keep his body going so that he could keep playing the position that he played. When he hung it up, he's like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm good. He had no lingering injuries. He had no lingering health issues. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, you look at Zion. Zion, unfortunately, he's been injured. He's back, but he's lost some weight and he's picked up a bit of muscle. He's leaned out.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw him the other day and I was like, whoa.
Him jumping up and down is going to help his knees a lot more because he's not as heavy.
Yeah.
Right? That's the type of player that he is. So basketball, yeah, for sure.
So do you see if he keeps himself healthy, do you think New Orleans will be in the playoffs?
Absolutely.
For the NBA?
Absolutely. Because there's only probably one person that comes to mind that I can think can even try to stop Zion, and that's Giannis. I can tell you right now, Dwight Howard, unfortunately, is not the big that he used to be. Anthony Davis is not the big that he used to be.
Yeah.
What other big men are out there? Nikola Jokic, but he's more of a finesse big. He ain't a strong big. So I think his size, his length could bother him, but he's not gonna stop him from backing down. Who else?
Yeah.
Who else
I would love for Zion to keep healthy for the entire NBA season because I've been waiting to see him play.
Yeah.
Like, I was super excited when he was that first pick, and then unfortunately he got injured, and then so what? He's gone maybe 2 seasons not playing.
Almost almost 3 seasons worth. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think out of all these injuries, well, and then I saw. Did you see what happened to Jamal too in that preseason game? So what's his deal? I mean.
So here's where I compare him to Derrick Rose. I compare him to Derrick Rose with the high flying ability, the speed and the quickness, the way he lands. Like, unfortunately, his injuries to his leg come from just being over athletic sometimes.
But look him up though, because in that preseason game that he played, I think it was his hamstring, if I'm not mistaken.
Who was it?
So, and it sucks because I'm like, man, I'm waiting for you to come back too. You know, my biggest thing is, so why are we playing these big guys in these preseason games? I hate any preseason prep. And I get why they do it, right? Because you need to get them back, on the rhythm of things, and then you're trying to look at your draft rookies and your draft picks, like where are they going to fit in the organization? But if when it comes to baseball and basketball and football, I would prefer not having any preseason games.
Who'd you want me to look up again?
Jamal Murray's injury, or where he's at right now, because I think he pulled a hamstring on the other the game that I was watching the other day.
It's his thigh.
It's his thigh. Okay. Is he out though, or are they saying anything?
No, it's not saying nothing related to the repaired ACL.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So it could be just something that happened.
So yeah, Jamal and Zion, those are the two players that have been hit with injuries back to back in the last few seasons that I'm kind of excited. So I'm hoping, that they stay healthy throughout the whole season, and we'll see how far they can get. But yeah, I looked at Zion the other day, and I'm like, whoa, man, you've put on some muscle.
Yeah, exactly. So and that's what's going to help him go through the season.
And now, how long did they sign up CJ for?
I think, hang on. CJ McCollum, look in there. Two years. So he'll play.
So this will be his second year?
No. They actually just did an extension in September. Excuse me. So he's up.
Okay.
He's up for 2 more years. He'll play all the way through the 26th season.
Okay. Man. Yeah, if Zion stays healthy,
Zion stays
if
healthy,
they play the way they did towards the end of that season, they can be something.
That's what I'm saying. So CJ really rounds out the team really well. Let's take a look at that squad real quick. You got Zion, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum. Let's see. That starting 4 is good. Larry Nance Jr. coming off the bench. I forgot they picked up Valanciunas. Which most likely they'll have him as the starting center. Your starting 5 is good. I don't know too much. Devontae Graham, I've heard some good things about him. So yeah, between Zion, Brandon Ingram, CJ, and just that starting 3.
Yeah.
That's a solid up front.
It'll be interesting to see him play all the other big guys too. So we'll see. I'll tell you, this is, my favorite time of the year. You have football, you have MLB playoffs. Hockey starts, I think, this week, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it already started.
You have preseason NBA, but I don't even pay attention to that because I'm not a big fan of any preseason games.
Same.
At all and stuff. And so what? I think the regular season for basketball starts December?
No, November.
November. Okay,
they
so
like
yeah,
the end
this
of
is
November.
and then the WNBA playoffs just finished about a month ago or so. So yeah, it hence why I have the 3 TVs. I added the third one. I only had 2, but I'm telling you, it's so much. And then of course you have college, and I've been watching a lot of college games, football games here in the last few weeks too. So
I'll get you a
yeah,
fourth one for Christmas.
it's a great time. The fall, here in Texas, it's great. Because we're in the 80s and the night in the 60s. We have the Texas State Fair for a whole entire month. So yeah, it's an interesting October.
Yeah, it's brisk as hell out here.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. So St. Louis didn't do anything when they had the men on base with only 1 out. So they're both right now in the top of the 9th.
Yeah, I see it there.
It looks like
the Mets are gonna win.
It looks like they may. Well, Mets may win. They're up 7-2. I don't think San Diego's probably gonna pull this one out unless a complete fallout in the 9th. But there's 2 outs and there's men in the corners for San Diego. And then you have 1 out, a man on first for Philadelphia. So unless Philadelphia can do a little bit more, I still think 2-0 is not a good. It's not a good, shoe-in or lead. So.
No.
But yeah, we should know here in the next 30 minutes or so if Philadelphia can pull it and win this one, then they're in. And they'll go against Atlanta. It looks like maybe there's one more wild card game tomorrow. From New York and San Diego.
That'll round it out for the Dodgers. There you go.
Yeah, because then the division series or the ALCS, or not even the ALCS, because you still have 4 teams. I think it's set to start on Tuesday.
Gotcha. What else you got on the docket?
That's it. I mean, just right now, the only big things is baseball and football, and then once the NBA starts, then we can, do that. Hockey, I think if I'm not mistaken, hockey starts this week. Look that up.
Yeah, I know.
Because we can add them in too,
Let's see. Preseason.
This week, maybe next week?
First game started yesterday and today. So the Sharks and the Preds started it out, and then going into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, you got a lot more teams starting out.
But was that regular season or was that global? What is it they call the global? No, the international global something. I can't remember. I think it was the Sharks and who else was it? I can't remember.
It was the Sharks.
I can't remember if that was a regular season or.
Well, it's got the stats on it. Yeah, so that counts.
Okay, so then it's a regular season.
Yeah,
okay,
it's a regular season.
So it started already.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Preds took that series. They're up. No, it's 1-1. No, hang on. Wait a minute. Whoa.
Yeah, as soon as the NHL starts to get rolling, I'll look at, teams and players.
I didn't get a lot of updates this year on, movement, so not a lot of teams, moved a few. There were a few contract signings and extensions.
I don't think it did in the NHL. There wasn't too many surprises. The only thing besides basketball, there really wasn't anything else because baseball usually happens, during that mid-year going into the All-Star break because then they have, that deadline before the All-Star break is when, moves have to be made.
Right. What's the Blackhawks schedule looking like? They come to town a couple times. Let's take a look here.
They do. They always do. Yeah. You know how crazy it can get.
I know. It was crazy to take Candace up there because that had been her first Stars game, and she enjoyed it. She didn't realize how nuts it gets.
I mean, I don't think that you cannot, and even for her not being a big sports fanatic like us, because Candace is pretty easygoing and she'll, have fun regardless of what it is that we do. But there's just no way you don't get into an NHL game. Besides, the puck and you following going back and forth, it hits. You know, and yeah, so I'm glad she enjoyed it. I'm glad she enjoyed it.
Yeah, they come to town a couple times actually. So once in November, and then
January usually,
yeah,
or February. I can't remember.
I think it said February a second ago. Where is it at? I just saw it. Yeah, in February, and then again in March. Okay, so they come in town.
Yeah, they come. Yeah, well, just like the Bulls. The Bulls come in town too, and you know they play our Mavs a few times too. So
yeah. So we'll see. Got some good stuff rolling down the pipeline. Everything's starting to shape out. This is the busy season for all the sports going on. So
yep.
We'll see. We will try to keep this going, guys, as much as possible between work schedules and figuring it all out. It would be nice to do this every 2 weeks or at least once a week just to kind of keep up with all the stories and stuff like that. But
yeah,
for everyone that
I know there's so much that's gone on,
Yeah.
and we haven't been able to capitalize. And a lot of that is me, with work and stuff. So hopefully, things will get a little bit better for me at work, with new hires and stuff, because we're extremely understaffed. So, but yeah, I mean, if we can do it once a week, that'd be great. Fridays, maybe Saturdays, or every 2 weeks. The biggest thing with me is, between our last podcast and this one, any new news or anything that stands out, I wrote it down, and so I think that's probably, if we go past the 1 or 2 week mark, then at that point, I think it'd be good for us to just write down the big stories, or, something that, surprises you, or something that catches your eye, or something, that, we think people like to hear, then we can do that. So
I'm right there with you. So good notes to take and stuff like that. So everyone that tuned in, guys, we appreciate it. We'll be back next time. Of course, stay tuned to Twitter, and I'll let you guys know when we plan on doing the next podcast. And then if you guys have any topics, man, just drop it down in the chat. Stuff that you want to hear our
that'd be great
opinions
if people can just, throw out some ideas or whatever and stuff. We're open for it,
Oh yeah, big time.
Clearly, we weren't that prepared today. I think I was a little bit better than I was last time. But yeah, it's stuff like that can kind of help too. If somebody has like a question, between now and our next podcast, we can definitely, talk about it.
Absolutely. So everyone that tuned in, guys, we appreciate it. We will catch you guys next time. As always, I'm Iceman. You guys stay cool. Joe, appreciate the talk. We'll catch you next time.
Not a problem. Yeah, appreciate the time.
Yep.
Thanks for letting me do it again.
Yep. I'll hit you up tomorrow.
All right.
Bye. All right, guys, we're going to call it there. Catch you guys next time.